I think about that last weekend we were together almost daily. It had been a really long time since it was just me and him and our guitars. I mean, we talked about everything. Life, music, work, relationships, future plans. It was just like every other time we had hung out, even if we hadn't seen each other in a minute. It was just easy. It was like we'd picked up right where we left off. We worked on a song of his that weekend, and through some ups and downs, by the end of it, he turned around and looked at me and said, "Man, I don't think I've been more proud of anything in my life." And it just felt awesome. He went home that Sunday, and he called me a couple days later, and he said, "Man," he said, "I can't stop listening to this song. It's awesome. Would you be interested in doing an album or an EP?" Troy had always had a dream of releasing a CD of his own music, and so naturally I was all about it, and I couldn't wait to get started. I think he was super excited too, because he finally saw a window where this could happen, and I just don't think it had ever really happened before, because he was too busy taking care of everybody else that he didn't put enough time into what he really wanted to do. So we started talking about schedules and how we were going to make it happen and how we were going to get ideas back and forth to each other until we could get together to record again. We started playing guitar together, so this many years later it felt like everything had come around full circle. We couldn't wait. As soon as I looked down at the phone, I knew something was wrong. For a second, I felt like if I didn't answer it, that it just wouldn't be true. We can all know how important someone is in our lives, but it's really truly a shame that you don't understand the depth of how important that person was until they're gone.
So fluid, the way you move, with the same consistency. Pour your life out like water. Run my fingers right through you.
The part of him that he just had so much fun doing and something that he really cared about was his music, and how it could just, music could just set a tone for anything.
Something we saw on a street sign one time was a whole song. I mean, that's just the way it would go. I mean, he would find a song in every moment.
For my whole life, I've always favored artists who wrote their own music and sang from the heart, because he was the first one that I was exposed to that really did that, and they weren't just playing music for the heck of it. It meant everything to him when he sang.
Troy was just a melody maker. You could just, you have so many guitarists that would just play and play and play, and it ends up sounding like a bumblebee, but Troy could just play that A chord and put a melody to it, and it would just about make you cry. He had that gift.
Troy and I started playing guitar pretty much at the same time. We were pretty close friends before, but once we picked up the guitar, everything changed. With music, Troy and I realized pretty quickly that this wasn't just a hobby, but it was more of a way that we could survive. We both had our fair share of things that we needed to deal with, and music was a way for us to get everything out. It was really something that made us feel complete and like we mattered in our own small corner of the world, if not to anybody else, to ourselves. Whenever we felt small or like we were unimportant, then we could just write a song, and when we wrote one together, we made each other feel important. We really felt like we accomplished something.
I don't know that Troy's ever had ideas of grandeur or ever hitting it big or anything else. I think Troy just wanted to record his stuff so that he could listen to it, and if you liked it, you could listen to it.
Troy always had a passion for playing, and he always wanted to be able to entertain people, and he wanted people to enjoy what he did.
From Troy, I learned a lot about simplicity, I think, in as much as that you don't have to overcomplicate things for them to be passionate and actually have a value.
So to this day, I can still remember times of showing him a riff, whether it be a simple, a few chords or something, something that I was just playing from something we heard from a CD we liked, and him just getting super excited about it and always making me feel good about just playing in general and having fun.
The last time we were together, Troy and I recorded a song which is now known as I Don't Care. And since he was a little unfamiliar with the recording process and didn't realize it would take as long as it did, he asked if he could record a few songs just to have them documented. We set up a microphone and we got 4 songs of his that's just him and a guitar. He was a very on-the-spot writer and player, and he never played with a metronome, so several times when I asked him, hey man, do you want to record these to a click track so that they stay in time, it was pretty obvious that that wasn't going to happen. He just didn't feel comfortable with it. So I just hit record and said, well, we'll deal with it later. The first 6 weeks or so of this project was pure hell. Not only was I dealing with the emotion and the pain of having to hear his voice, I had to find a good tempo for each song, and then I had to edit every single vocal and every single guitar part to make sure that everything was in time, which meant I would have to listen to him sing phrases over and over and over. I cursed him out a few times. I think if anybody were in the room with us while we were recording this project, they would have thought that I was losing my mind and that I had gone crazy. We'd laugh, we'd argue, we'd butt heads, we'd cry. He really was in the room with me.
Cause this fire's almost over. It's only getting colder. You were the 1% I thought that I knew. Days getting slower. Get your tears off my shoulder. I'm so alone even when I'm right next to you. I'm right beside you.
The thing about Troy was just everything about music to him just seemed, real. Like it was his place and his place to be. And if you had any kind of connection with him through music, it just seemed really, really special.
What affected me most about his style was that there was a whole lot of heart he poured into it, and it was like he was singing a prayer.
Several guitars were used in the making of this record, but the 2 that truly made the record belonged to Troy. His family was gracious enough to give me his guitars so that I could complete the songs. I don't think I could ever truly convey what that means to me and how important it really was for the completion of the project. The songs would have turned out completely different if it weren't for those 2 guitars. A guitar is never just a guitar, it's an extension of you. And it has stories to tell, and these guitars had been with Troy for several years, and they had lots of stories to tell, and they had lots of songs written on them. They really brought the personality of Troy into the project because I did things in these songs that I wouldn't normally do. I got them the day of the funeral, and I don't think I was able even to take them out of the cases for a few months. But yeah, once those guitars came out, it was go time, man. It was time to get to work.
I'm only looking out for you, 'cause there is nothing left of me. I would change
a lot of people know Troy. They know who Troy was, or at least they think they do. But you had to be a close friend of his to actually see what he did.
I can't tell you how many times, it's been more than once, that I call Troy at late hours, any time of night. Yeah, it was more than once, and the only response I ever got from Troy was, "I'm on my way."
You knew where you stood with him, and he was that guy that, no matter what it was, he'd do anything and everything he could for you.
He always did everything in his power to make you smile and to make you laugh. It didn't matter what was going on. It was all going to be okay, man.
There's not a person in the entire world that didn't like that guy. He never did a mean thing to anybody. He was the nicest person in the world, and even if you didn't know him, within 5 minutes of meeting him, you were going to be friends with him.
Coming from a family like he did, he just really, he really, he gave you the shirt off his back anytime you needed anything. He was always stopping what he was doing and putting other people first.
Always the one in a group who would offer to pay for something, or offer to go run an errand, or offer to let you borrow this, or just give you something and never ask for it in return. I think sometimes to a fault, Troy would always want to volunteer his services for somebody and not expect anything in return. And I think that's what everybody loved about him.
What was it about Troy that stuck out to you the most?
The only person who wasn't convinced he was awesome was him.
I had this riff that I had written when I was like 15 or 16, and for whatever reason, Troy thought it was the best riff I had ever written. And the last time we were together, he told me that he was going to steal it if I didn't do something with it, so I figured it was time that I did something with it. Once it came time to write the lyrics for the song, they pretty much came in about 5 minutes. I honestly don't even remember writing them. Recording the vocals is a completely different story. I had to retrack lines 6, 7, 8 times just because I couldn't get it right, and I would get choked up in the middle of a line. For whatever reason, I just could not get the lines out. Troy used to get a big kick out of my screams in my previous bands because he just didn't understand how I could do it. I really had no intentions of screaming at all, and that day I definitely had a lot to scream about, and I just needed him to hear me.
Said this before about him, is that other folks at their funerals, people have to make up things about he was a good person this, he was a good person that, but he really was that guy.
You could go months, even years, without talking or seeing each other, and then once you came back and you sat down or you picked up the phone or everything, it was just like you haven't missed a minute, you haven't missed a year, you haven't missed anything. I mean, everything was genuine.
Pick up that guitar and sing me a lullaby, so I know just where you are. When I hear that melody, I know you're singing to me, and you're really not that far.
Based on conversations that Troy and I had had, he really just wanted his CD to be just me and him, and I think it had a lot to do with the fact that he knew that he would be able to make the CD that he truly wanted to make. But given the type of person that he was, and knowing how many people really would have loved to have been involved in the CD, I felt it appropriate in the spirit of Troy that we get those people involved in some ways. I had worked on all these other songs that I didn't want to really be involved in the group song outside of production and recording because I wanted it to be their song. And also in the writing of it all, I just kind of felt like I was really burnt out from the whole process. And so I called up Jason Ellis and said, hey, do you want to do a co-write on this song?
Getting in here and actually writing a song that people can be proud of, and that I can be proud of, and that Troy could be proud of, it actually just scared the hell out of me because I didn't want to screw it up. So I didn't want to get in here and put some stuff together and then us just scrap it and then go with something that maybe Kogi had already written. So it's funny because I woke up that morning thinking, this is not how I should be writing a song. I felt like I should be putting lots of thought into it, but looking back, it's like, I just kind of played what kind of came to me. Maybe that's the best way to do it, not overthinking it and just kind of playing what sounds good and feels good to you.
Shortly after that, we started bringing everybody in and recording their parts, and everybody just did a phenomenal job. It was awesome to work with all of them. It was a really good time. It was kind of an emotional roller coaster at times, but it was definitely a good time.
It's something that's really special, and it's really neat that we all get to share it as close friends of Troy's. It's something that we can take with us and keep with us for forever.
In the bridge of that song is where everybody who recorded on the song is playing at the same time, and I just thought, you know what, it would be really cool if Troy could sing on this. And then I thought, you know what, why can't he? So I took a vocal of Troy's from another song and I sort of manipulated it to fit this song, and so now in the bridge there is a high male vocal in the background, kind of off in the distance. That's Troy singing along with everybody in his song.
We sing his song.
There'll never, ever be another person like Troy Pooser. And
It can be said of very few people that we leave this world the very best that we were, at our very best. We get old, we lose our teeth, our eyesight, our hearing, our memories, and he left this world at the very best that he was.
When they hear the CD, they need to understand what it took to get to the point where the song was written.
I want this to convey that we can leave behind something that's greater than we are, and that actually have some kind of meaning or bearing on people's lives.
I really hate that it didn't happen while he was alive, but I know that somewhere he's going to be very, very happy that this got done, and he'll be very proud of it.
He loved music, and he loved to share his music. The playing part, the singing part, writing every bit of it.
I know he knew it was good, but I don't think he thought anyone else would think it was good, and it's incredible, and I'm glad other people will have a chance to see that.
First and foremost, there's a lot of people out there who may not really realize how talented Troy was and how much passion he has, and I think when they hear his songs that he wrote, they're going to hear it in his voice. They're going to hear how much fun he had doing it, but also how much emotion he put into the songs he wrote. And number two, when they listen to the song we put together, hopefully they'll understand what kind of impact Troy had on everyone who was a part of his life.
Troy left something behind, and that's so important. This is something that's him, and we can keep with us. And I know that anytime I need him, there it is.
It's just something really special to have a bond and a connection to take with you, and that's what I think this CD will do for all of us.